I'm Sergeant Justin Wall of the Orange County Sheriff's Office Professional Standards Section. Today's date is April 6, 2021, and the current time is 10:23 a.m. This interview is being conducted by phone. I am interviewing Assistant State Attorney Colin Moore. State Attorney Moore, are you aware that I'm recording this interview?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Has anyone threatened, coerced, or offered you any preferential treatment to give this statement?
No.
Are you under the influence of drugs or alcohol that may impair your testimony?
No.
All right, I'm going to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are to provide will be true and correct?
I do.
Okay, so I'm conducting a internal investigation into the conduct of employees of the Orange County Sheriff's Office, specifically Sergeant Keith Vidler and Corporal John Ramsey, and it was brought to my attention that you may have spoken with Sergeant Vidler in either the day of an arrest that he made or the day after. The arrest was under Orange County case number 21-21693, and the arrest was of a Mr. Jeremy Dewitte. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay. That arrest was on March 23rd, 2021. So, did you get a phone call from Sergeant Vidler about this case?
I did.
Do you remember what or when that took place?
It was, I believe, on the day of that arrest.
Okay. And so just kind of walk me through the circumstances of how you became aware of this arrest.
It happened all just sort of, there was a succession of events. I had heard that Jeremy Dewitte was arrested on a voicemail that was left for me first by a statewide prosecutor. And I think they are investigating potentially charging cases. So I think he must have been leaving me a message about something else, but just mentioned that Jeremy Dewitte had got arrested. And then that prompted me to just look that up in my system. And then I did find the case in my system, and it looked like the arrest affidavit had been scanned in already, so I opened it and started reading it. And it was as I was reading that, probably within the first paragraph or two, that I got a call from Sergeant Vidler. And he was informing me about the arrest. And at that point, that's where I became aware that it was Sergeant Vidler that conducted the arrest.
Okay, and what was the conversation between you and Sergeant Vidler?
Just the contents of the affidavit, really. I told him I was reading the affidavit as he called me, and then I was like, oh, I said I didn't even realize you were the arresting officer. And so at the same time that I was reading it, he was explaining to me basically what was in the affidavit. It was really just that.
Okay, did he express an interest in the case, in obviously pursuing the charges?
Oh, as far as a desire for us to file on it and to prosecute it?
Right.
Yes, he was definitely, trying to make a case that was something we could go forward on I think the arrest was for a possession of a concealed weapon by a convicted felon.
Okay. And so after that, or during that conversation, did you kind of express to him any concerns or was it just a discussion about the case, or what kind of took place?
We spoke for probably at least between 5 and 10 minutes about the facts and whether that qualifies as a concealed weapon, because there's a lot of little cracks and gray areas in this law of what a convicted felon can have and can't have. I think everybody agreed that he's allowed to have a defensive chemical weapon used for self-defense only. I think the big discussion that we were having was whether this qualifies as concealed, because in his affidavit he remarks that he saw what appeared to be a firearm. And I think at that time he told me he wasn't sure if it was even Jeremy Dewitte or not. So I think, and this wasn't part of our conversation, but I understand that there have been past instances where Metro State police officers have had firearms on their persons. And I believe that might be why he was thinking he needs to check this out, see if this is a gun. So our conversation stemmed around, once he realizes it's Jeremy Dewitte, and he is unable, he explained to me that he was unable to actually verify that it was not a firearm until he could inspect the magazine for it. And that was the only way to actually distinguish it from a real firearm. So our conversation was mostly about whether that's something that will qualify as a legally concealed weapon by a convicted felon, if in fact he can see what looks like a firearm.
Okay. Is there any case law that you know of that relates to this topic?
No. I did talk to him specifically about some case law that, when a gun is wedged between, let's say, a center console and a driver's seat, and if an officer can see the butt of the gun enough to tell that it is a gun, I know there's case law that says that doesn't count as that doesn't count as being concealed because it is observed by the officer. So we talked about that case. I don't know of any case, to directly answer your question, I don't know of any case that says a weapon possessed by a convicted felon is concealed if it's disguised as a different weapon. No, I don't know of a case like that.
Okay. So, in your opinion, based on your knowledge of the law and your assessment of this case, is this something that you would have filed with and proceeded with?
I told him that I was going to talk about it with some other ASAs, which is generally what we do. If we have a question about something, my first inclination was that would not be legal concealment.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't say, definitively yes or no right at that moment, because I will generally want to take a look, especially, if whether it's officers or whether it's victims, witnesses who are encouraging me to look at to try to get other information. I can look into it and see if there is some fact that does support it, or if there's some case. So at that point, I didn't know of a case, and my first instinct was that I don't think that's going to count. I don't remember if I specifically said that to him or not, but I do remember telling him that I had some doubts about it and that I would look into it.
Okay. So just to clarify, so you said that you would not believe it's legal concealment. So you don't. I guess, do you feel like it meets the statutory requirements? The based on the circumstances of this case, do those facts and circumstances warrant an arrest based on this statute?
I think it certainly warrants a stop to investigate based on him having a concern that it's a firearm. Whether it's probable cause for him to believe it's concealment because he didn't know, I don't know if I have an opinion on that. I'm not his attorney, so he didn't call me to say, hey, can I arrest this guy? It was already done. Mm-hmm. If you're asking me hypothetically, I would probably say don't arrest him on that. Let's see where the law says, and maybe research that.
Okay. But you, just to clarify, so you don't believe that that the facts and circumstances in this case on face value warrant an arrest based on this statute?
unless I saw a case that supported it otherwise, I would say no.
Okay.
I just wasn't aware of one, and I'm not aware of one yet at this point.
Okay. All right. Have you ever spoken with Sergeant Vidler or anyone else, for that matter, about the facts and circumstances of this company carrying pepper ball guns? Has that ever been brought up to you, and has there ever been discussion about whether or not that was legal and illegal?
When you say this company, you mean Metro State?
Yeah, Metro State. Have you ever had any conversations with anybody, particularly Sergeant Vidler or Corporal Ramsey or anyone else in the motor unit? I know you said you haven't been assigned these cases.
Yeah, I haven't been assigned these cases very long. So,
but I'm just wondering, do you remember any conversations about this previously, where with any of the has anybody approached you or asked you, hey, they're doing this, is this something we can arrest them for, kind of thing?
Oh nobody has approached me about that subject now.
Okay. All right. I think that's all the questions I have for now. If I have anything else, I may reach back out to you, but I think that's all I have for now. Do you have is there anything else that you know about this investigation that you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I haven't spoken with him yet about just the cases in general.
Okay.
I know that we have cases coming up next week for pretrial, so I'm going to have to get with him at some point just to figure out what's going to happen. But in terms of this particular incident, no, I can't think of anything else to add.
Okay. Have you ever? Let me just ask you. Have you ever witnessed or seen any other misconduct by Sergeant Vidler or Corporal Ramsey relating to this particular Metro State and Jeremy Dewitte in the other cases that you have reviewed?
No, I haven't seen anything that is concerning yet. No, okay. And I'm not sure I've reviewed anything yet from Ramsey.
Okay.
I'm still, actually, I spent last night reviewing all the affidavits and sort of factual bases for a lot of the cases. And so, just, again, getting caught up to speed on the history of the incidents.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that you know about this investigation you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Okay. The current time is 10:36 a.m. and that concludes this interview.